All right, guys. Well, we're back. It's another Thursday. It's another lunchtime in Arizona, which means it's 2:00 on Michael and now my time. I am in a pizzeria somewhere in Chicago. And Michael, where are you right now?
I'm just in my unfinished, boring white room right now.
In the white
My
room
clinic.
of shame. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for coming in here. I know I can already see that you're getting on top of it. Jonathan's been messaging me on Instagram. He's been messaging inside of the Facebook group. He's messaging in here. So we love when there's questions for us to answer. We do this every Thursday, unless a hurricane takes us out or there's something going on. We're on here every Thursday just trying to give value to you guys for free 99. And if we have time, we'll bring you guys up on stage so you can ask us some questions. My name's Cain. This is Michael Franke. What I did last year is I knew you from a few years ago from a mastermind, and then I interviewed him on my podcast, and I learned Michael's story. If you go to his YouTube, you get the entire thing. But I learned how much money he was making by helping people and doing it in a moral, ethical way. And I was like, man, wow, this is really cool. I like the way that you operate things. Tell me more. And I did exactly what he said. And 2 weeks later, I got a property under contract. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is all you have to do? All. And from then on, I was like, this is the way to go. Niche lists are the future. Is the best way to find homeowners that need to sell, want to sell, and are motivated to sell. So I don't know where you guys are at. If you're new to this and you're looking to get your first deal, or if you want to start transitioning out of your W-2 and be your own boss, you're in the right place. And we'd love to get to your questions in the side chat. So with that being said, we're going to get started here in a moment. But Michael, before we get cooking, I looked at your Instagram earlier today and I saw that you were taking one of your team members through the vacant house process. You walked them through how to search through that. How often are you guys doing some trainings inside of your team?
You know, I could probably be better about training my team a little bit more.
Yeah.
I've been taking on so many things right now that's taken a little bit of a back seat. But a couple of my guys asked me the same question this week about the vacant process. And I'm like, hold up, these are the basics. So I had to go back through that again. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that step. Like they felt dumb about it, even though I have a defined vacant process for them on a document, on letterhead and everything. And it's like, bum, 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 bum. But guys, I've said this over and over and over. Sales teams are kind of like having a toddler. No matter how many times you say things, it's like you got to say it again. Like, I need you to brush your teeth. I need you to brush your teeth. I need you to brush your teeth. And then all of a sudden, when they're 6, they're like, oh, Daddy, I went and brushed my teeth on my own. And then you still got to keep saying it after that. So let it be a lesson. Even at high levels of this business, if you let off the gas and you're not pouring into your team over and over and over again, hey, how's it going? If you're not pouring into your team all the time, then they might regress and they might forget things. And then all of a sudden, they aren't operating at the level that they were. So what's up?
Michael, have I ever introduced you to Marlon?
I don't think so. Maybe in passing. I saw him last week driving.
Sideways. Well, I'm just asking him about the training process, what he does, and just with your sales team, you have to just like toddlers. We all have to go through repetition as a mother of skill. But Michael, I didn't tell you this actually. I volunteered you to join our meetup on Monday. You were like, nobody even invited me. I was like, I just want to hang out with Michael and introduce him. So another thing for everybody on here, Monday night, I don't even know the details right now. I'll find it here in a minute and I'll throw it up on the screen. But we're going to be in Kansas City. And my thought on this was like, I was going to ask you, but I figured you might have something pop up. So if I just told you where to show up, you just show up. And then we could introduce you to everybody. So
the host of the event was like, I can't wait to see you on Monday. And I'm like, I don't even know what we're talking about.
I said they gave us the photo and it was just me and Marlon. I said, no. Put Michael Franke on there too. I'm going to ask him to come. So if you guys are in the Kansas City area on Monday, what is today? The 8th, 9th, 10th, the 12th. I'll throw the details up. It's on our Instagram. I'll put it on Instagram as well. But my main thing is, Michael, you've changed my life. And by proximity, you changed Marlon's life. I know everybody in the side chat here. If Michael Franke has changed your life, please if he's helped you guys out somewhere, please let us know, because Michael has gone above and beyond. He's very selfless. But I wanted you to get some of your roses before you opened up your community and your niche data. And I was like, what better place than me welcoming you to Kansas City, even though it's where you live. So I wanted to just throw you in the fire there. So guys, he will have a mentorship program coming out soon, but this is your free version of it right now that you guys can get access to. See, like Jose said, you already have changed my life. So Michael, can't wait to hang out with you on Monday. So we're going to an air show here on Saturday, and then we're gonna hit the road for Monday. But we were gonna go through the questions on the side chat. I don't think you've really spoken, Michael Franke, and I want to make sure that you can hear him because I think this AirPod is gonna be the one. So I want to make sure he can hear you. So do you have any questions for Michael before we go through the side chat?
Well, I'm going to let the questions go through because they might ask and get everything answered. But if they don't ask the things I'm thinking, I'm going to start asking my questions.
Okay. That's how you get superseded to the front. All right. Let's go through these because Jonathan's been killing it on the side chat. Is there a good website to check up on the status of an auction date to see if it has changed due to the homeowner working with the lender? Michael?
I'm going to let you answer this one.
But yes, I'll rapid fire through these so we can get to, because I want to, you ask good questions. Marlon has a really good podcast. He's very inquisitive. So I was curious what questions you're going to ask Michael. Yes, Jonathan. This is me giving you tough love. I think you've gone through some of our channels, some of our previous videos. Go to the trustee's website. Go to the website that the attorney who's auctioning the house off, they will update that. And if they don't have a website, you can actually call them and say, hey, I was looking to bid on this house. What's the status on it? And they'll say, oh, nope, it's canceled. So that's how you'll know. So either check their website if they have one. They don't always have one. Or two, call the trustee and find out. And then you can also just see, like, some places have auction.com or Zome. There's different websites everywhere. So different auction houses. Actually, Michael, I'm going to just volunteer some more stuff from you. I don't know what your week looks like next week, but I'm going to come hang out with you and I want to make some content with you. So I don't know when we're going to do that, but I'm going to come over and we're going to maybe make a video on how many different websites there are that you can pull data from. So I just spoke that into existence. So everybody,
I can tell you right now, it's a lot.
That's the short and sweet version. All right, I'm going to just rapid fire through these. Is underwriting a deal and comping a deal the same thing? So, well, it's like a
kind
science.
of.
I mean, you want to comp it.
Kind of and kind of not.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Comping a deal, you're looking at, what are the values in the area? How does it compare to other deals in the neighborhood? Underwriting, you might be looking at it from a different perspective. You might be looking at keeping the deal. Maybe you're looking at underwriting it for a long-term hold, or maybe it's a large multifamily building. You're kind of figuring out, does this NOI, net operating income, make sense for me? Do I want to get into this deal? So it's similar. You're analyzing the deal. It's just maybe from a different lens. Maybe you guys have a different view.
No, I would agree with Michael entirely, right? When I look at comping, this is more about understanding what is the potential worth from a dollar amount of property in comparison to other properties in the area. Underwriting is understanding what's the highest and best use. So this is essentially just like what Michael was saying, determining if it's going to be a short-term rental or a long-term rental or whatever you may decide to do with it when you underwrite it. You're effectively figuring out what the return on the investment would be for you or even the potential buyer if you're wholesaling it to someone else.
I agree. And if you guys are, let's switch AirPods really quickly because I know this one has a microphone out. So now we can talk. Now, the other thing I'd say, so Jonathan, I know that you're new. I will look at your video after this. But for everybody on here, I push you guys to wholesale everything. I don't know if Alexander Ramos is on here. He just told me he got his first sub-2 deal that he kept, and he's been in real estate. He's been doing deals since December, and it's now August 8th. So it took him 9 months to finally keep something, and he put $20,000 of his own money into it, but he's cash flowing $850 a month. It's a 2% interest rate, home run of a deal. And he has $50,000 set aside for cash reserves for emergencies. So yeah, don't keep anything until you're in the position to do that. Yeah. So yes. So if you need help comping your underwriting, message us. We'll help you out. Major cities, I will look at. Michael's only focusing in Kansas City. And actually, one thing I will say, the only reason I'm willing to do major cities is because I'm subtailing them. We're cleaning them and we're putting them back on the market because it's almost like wholesaling it. We're just getting a large fee. We're not really keeping it unless it's incredible. Michael has everything built out. He can do anything and everything in Kansas City. He's only focusing on Kansas. How many markets would you say you focus on, Marlon?
I focus on primarily one. I own a property in Arizona, but Milwaukee's been my bread and butter. And when I narrowed down my focus, I started getting more traction.
And you started making more money.
Started making way more money.
Yeah. So I hope that helps you, Jonathan. All right. Jonathan's just becoming the golden student with the most questions. How does the title officer escrow agent make their money in a wholesale situation? Does their amount come from the agreed upon purchase price? So when you're going through the title company, they're getting paid for doing title escrow fees. So it's like 1%, 2% sometimes in different states, but they get fees for doing the transactions. Once Pace told me,
your guys' fees done in Arizona. I've heard some podcasts, maybe on Wholesale Hotline or others, where they're talking about Arizona closing costs, and I'm just like, holy moly, from title companies, because ours is probably about $1,000 on a transaction.
No, let me see. Let me pull up here. I have a HUD.
I'll go look
I have
at
a HUD right here. That's an old HUD. Let me give you guys a HUD.
I feel like I've heard people say $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and I was like, man, that's crazy.
This is one I bought this one and I just sold this one. So let's go through this together really quickly. Wrong thing. Window. Here's a HUD statement. So this is what it looks like when you purchase a property.
Mm-hmm.
So I got title insurance on it. Escrow fee $638. I don't know why there's two of them. $630 or $39, $639.
You paid buyer and seller side.
Oh, there you go. Buyer and seller side. All right, why don't you walk us through this then?
Yep. So you got right here. Yeah. So we got buyers. So in this case, Caroline covered both the buyers and sellers title fees or escrow fees.
How do you know that I did that? Like, why would they? What would I have told them to make them do that?
You probably told them, like, hey, if I take care of closing costs, would you move forward with this transaction? If I can help you out by taking care of closing costs, would that help you? And they probably said yes. And that was just an added benefit.
Who's they?
They as the seller.
The seller, just for everybody to understand. So I'm like, hey, the pot is sweeter with me. I'll cover these costs so you don't have to. Go ahead.
Yep. So you took care of their right here, the seller's closing costs. Then you've got title insurance on the property, which you always want to have title insurance. This is in case the title company misses an important lien or they miss anything of that nature. This allows you to get your money protected. So it's been the case where people have purchased properties, closed on properties, but the title companies have missed an important piece of document. The seller was able to take the property back, or the bank could take the property back. A lot of crazy things happen. This allows you to protect your investment in the purchase. So I like this here. You had a mobile notary. It looks like that was for the seller though, so that was on their end. We've got title insurance, again, similar to what we spoke about here. So yeah, you're looking at just about almost what, 1,200, 900, so 23, almost 3,000. Right? Yeah. So almost $3,000 in closing costs, which in Arizona is definitely pricier. Like I hear Michael going, sheesh, because
man, I'm blessed up here in Kansas City.
Yeah, in Milwaukee, like our closing costs maybe is $1,000 after all said and done.
But also, I'm in an area where like I have my ARV, my average price of a home for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house is $450,000. What's your median cost for a home in Kansas City?
Right, $250.
We just filled up gas in downtown Chicago. How much was a gallon of gas? $5 a
gallon. It was like $5.50.
$5.50.
Is it really? 309 this morning in Kansas City.
Oh yeah. See, that's why you live in nowhere.
Yeah, like we're walking everywhere now.
So that's how the title companies get paid through their transaction fees. But like, if you build a good relation, like my title company, they're great. They do all kinds of stuff for me. They'll help me do prelim. If you build a relationship with your title, let's talk about yours. It's Rick Davis. Is he your escrow, title, escrow, everything?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dude, I mean, how much does he do for you?
Oh my goodness.
Is he worth every penny?
Oh, he's made me millions of dollars because he's my relationship. He now stops all my foreclosure sales. So I did the upfront work on interviewing, I don't know how many different title companies. And he was like, yeah, I used to work during the recession for all these lenders and all the foreclosure properties. I have relationships with all these guys, so I can get these sales stopped just with a phone call. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because I was on the phone, I was calling 20 times a day trying to get these sales stopped, and he's really enabled me to be able to scale my business. So that's why it's so important to have that power team and not settle for someone that's mediocre. I mean, you got to find someone's like, oh, I can close in 24 hours. I can get a foreclosure sale stopped for you. I'll go to bat for you. That's what my title company does, and you shouldn't settle for anything less.
You've delegated so much off. It's freed up so much more time for you to bring in more leads because we were on a Zoom yesterday because we're going to start delegating it out, not something we're talking about, but for multifamily. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I just bring the leads in. And it was I was like, well, not just the leads. And they're like, hey, that's the life force of your business. You are the beating heart that's pumping the blood through your system. If you don't have leads, you have no business. And it's nice that you're able to delegate things out. So if you build a good relationship with your title company, it'll change the game for you. Anything else you'd add before we go to the next one?
And I would disagree with Michael. I mean, I didn't realize how spoiled I was because I had a really good title agent that I use in Milwaukee. And when I was doing some deals nationwide earlier in my wholesale side of things, and I was being brought all over the nation and working with different title companies, I was just like flabbergasted at their just inability to get paperwork done, to communicate, to get a transaction to the finish line, the miscommunication. So when people do find good title companies, I mean, treat these people like gold. I send them flowers,
100%.
I send them chocolates, I send them Christmas cards, all those things, because at the end of the day, they make me money. They make my business function. And when I pass them the files, or when I hire a TC and the TC passes them files, I know that the deal is going to get closed. And if anything does come up, they're going to communicate with me immediately. That's invaluable.
Huge nugget. All right, let's keep it moving. We're going to get through these because I'm going to eat a piece of this pizza. How would the bankruptcy attorney / probate attorney get paid if the homeowner and I, the problem solver, don't have money to pay the attorney? Oh, well, I'm going to let you answer this one, Michael, because we've talked about this on a few different episodes before.
So this is interesting because fortunately I've always been in the position to be able to pay the probate attorney myself through our company. If you don't have those resources, that's when you've got to get resourceful. I mean, you've got people out there that are private money lenders. You got people out there that are willing to invest in your deal. This is just something where you're going to have to get creative. It's like, hey, I got this deal that's in probate. It needs to go through. It's going to be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever it might be to get it through probate. I've got to have this to get the trust of the seller. If I bring you in on this deal and you bring in this $4,000, I mean, would you be willing to partner on this deal with me? And then it can get creative from there. Guys, you've got to, be willing to give up some of the deal at the beginning if you don't have any cash and you don't have any resources. You're going to have to partner with someone. So that's what I would do. Fortunately, I haven't had to do that, but people at the beginning, you're going to have to, there's so many people in the community, people that are on this live, people that are in the Facebook group, people are in sub 2. There is someone, a Gator person, someone that's willing to front this money, guaranteed. You just got to be resourceful.
100% of it. And the thing is, we ordered pizza. Great. We just talked about this. If the pie's big enough, everybody can get a slice. Like you got to have a bite of this pizza. This pizza's incredible, but there's no way we're gonna be able to eat all of this pizza right now.
Oh man, I'm hungry
Okay?
now. Good.
I know. Hey, look, it's good. They put some kind of honey in here. But at the end of the day, you're gonna learn so much more by being a part of a transaction than trying to. I mean, you're gonna learn no matter what. You're gonna be like, man, I should have joined somebody and done this together. But JV, when you're getting started, we will. Our goal is to help more people. Like that's the. How do you think we get Michael to take time away from his business right here? He's not doing it just because he wants to be on Zoom and talking forever. He wants to help more people stop auctions, help homeowners get out of a situation. It's near and dear to our heart. So get a piece of the pie, and then, I mean, if you can build a relationship, thank you, with a probate attorney who's like, hey, I'll just get paid on the back end because you brought me so much business. So there's so many ways that you can work these things out. Anything else that you'd add there, Marlon?
No, you guys hit the nail on the head.
Are overages and arrears the same thing? What are redemption rights? What are defining judgments, Michael?
We've got about an hour's worth of conversation there. So I'm not going to go into redemption rights and judgments and all that stuff. Guys, there's so much to learn just on the fundamentals. There are a bunch of different ways to make money in real estate, but that's a gift and a curse. So overages would be the money that goes over and above what someone owes at a foreclosure sale. So if they owe $100,000 and someone buys it for $150,000 at the sale, that $50,000 difference is that overages amount. And you can help people collect that. I'm not going to go into that right now. Arrears are the amount of money that someone's behind on their mortgage. So if they haven't paid for 6 months and they're $1,000 a month for their mortgage, they'd be $6,000 plus fees. That would be the arrears on that property.
All right. Find more inside the Facebook group. All right, Jonathan, for question number 100. I'm just kidding. This is really good. Can you please briefly go over the necessary steps to take from beginning to end for each option 1 through 5? So when you're saying options 1 through 5, he's talking about I'll let you go ahead and enjoy your life over there. When you're talking about steps 1 through 5, we're talking about 1, reinstate your loan. 2, I've changed mine up a little bit for Michael. I put bankruptcy at the very end because I don't want to recommend bankruptcy to people. But I, let them know, talk to an attorney. You can see if it's possible for you. So 1 is reinstatement, 2 is a loan modification, 3 is a cash sale, 4 is a creative option. And then if none of those work, then I go into the bankruptcy as your final Hail Mary. But you're just asking questions with those things. Hey, what do you know about reinstating your loan? Okay, how far behind are you on your payments? Is that a number that you can come up with? If you go back through to Michael's YouTube, so let's do this together as a team, okay? No man left behind. All right, you go over to Michael's YouTube. Let me pull him up really quickly. So you will see a role play scenario that we did, and we break it down pretty well. And also, guys, whenever you guys subscribe to stuff, make sure you click it on all. So anytime we go live, when we are live, it'll help you have time. So if we come over here and we go to the videos, and you scroll, guys, I'll change it to the line. Scroll down here. So that's not the one I want. I'm too nice to him. You gotta find the one on me. How to deal with an angry seller. This one, we got like 3,000, almost 4,000 views on this one. This one, we go through almost all of the information that you'll need. So you can see pre-foreclosure role play, how to diffuse an angry seller. Michael breaks down every situation 1 through 5 on there, what it can happen. So that's a really good example for you, Jonathan. All right, let's keep moving. What does the first and second and third position mean? I hear people talking about the first and second position all the time. So you have your house, but you don't have enough money to purchase your house. So you go over and you say, hey, Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Bank of America, can I borrow money on this? They are the first position lender because they are first note holder. Now let's say you did some knucklehead stuff and you go and get another mortgage because you want to. They're going to be in the second position after the first one. And then there's judgments and things. They can be in third or fourth position. So when you're in foreclosure, the first one to get paid off is always the first. They're always going to get theirs because they're in the best position, first position. If you're third, fourth, fifth position on anything, you're getting whatever scraps are left over. Did I miss anything there, Michael?
No, it's pretty close. But basically, anytime, let's say I buy a house cash, right? And I have a lender come in, they're in first position. Let's say I get in a situation to where, crud, I didn't ask them for enough money. I need more money for the rehab. Then you bring in another investor that brings me $50,000 to do that rehab. Well, they're not going to be in first position on that loan. They'll be in second position. So we're just talking about the order in which, like Caroline said, the order in which someone gets paid off when you sell the home.
Good question. What is a wholesale deal? Why is it called wholesale? Wholesale, you're buying it, putting it back on the market, not really doing much to it. You might paint it, clean it. What would you do, Michael? You do a lot of those.
Yeah, we do a lot of wholesales. It's kind of a range of different ways you could do it. You could do a wholesale to where you buy it, you sell it to another investor right away. Like a lot of these foreclosures, they're short turnarounds. Maybe you don't have time to wholesale it, but you shop it to your buyers, make $25,000, but you take it down, resell it maybe a handful of days later. That could be a wholesale. Or you could take it down, clean it out, maybe deep clean it. You're not really repairing anything. You're just making it look as presentable as it can be, putting it on the MLS. Or maybe you're just doing a very, very light rehab. You're just painting and carpeting. That's it. You're not pimping it out. You're not flipping it. It's just you're making it presentable and putting it back on the market. So you got to weigh your numbers. In terms of why it's called a wholesale, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe you're getting the profit you can get on the tail end of the transaction. That's my best guess. But I can't say I've ever.
You're wholesaling at retail.
Yeah, wholesaling at retail. That's what we were taught. But
there we go. I've never even considered why it's called that.
All right, here's another one. Jonathan said, what does ballooning out mean? What is a balloon? Well, first and foremost, you should know balloons are for clowns. We don't want to do balloons if possible, but let's just say, typically if you're going to buy a house, you're going to get a mortgage. They're going to stretch it out over 30 years so you can afford it. Because if you had to make payments, if you borrowed $300,000 and you're like, all right, pay me back this year, you're like, well, I can't, so I'm borrowing the money. They make it affordable for you. So say it's on a 30-year term. And then they're like, you know what? But we're going to make the payments they're going to be paid off in 2 years. So you're making payments on the I don't know, let's just say the stretched out the monthly payments $1,500 a month. For 2 years, you're making $1,500 monthly payments, but at the end of year 2, the entire remainder is left. I don't know what would our payments be on it. Let's just say it's $1,000 a month to make the math simple. So you paid $24,000. So whatever $300,000 minus $24,000 is due on year 2 because your ballooning out means you have to pay it in full. Did I miss anything there? Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So try to stay away from balloons. Anything else to add? Okay. Next one. What is the minimum time needed to postpone an auction? Dude, 24 hours would be great. Please do not do it like that. A student.
The minimum amount of time is very, very low. I've done it with less than an hour, but please don't do that to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, but you also have
my favorite are Monday morning 9 a.m. auctions, and people come to me on Saturday afternoon. So I have officially 0 business hours to get something done. Those are my favorite, but 24 hours, 48 hours preferable. I know my title company can get it done in that amount of time. Anything less, it's hard to get a hold of the lender and the decision makers in that amount of time to get something done. Oftentimes in those, you're having to either reinstate things outside of escrow, which I despise, or you might have to file a bankruptcy, which I don't like doing that to the seller either. But that's when you got to enable them to make that decision on their own, depending on how much equity they have and what's going on in that situation. So.
And the one thing I want to say though, Michael's able to do that so quickly because he only does Kansas City and he knows the ins and outs. Like I had somebody who brought me one in California and I was helping them. They brought it to me Sunday night and the auction was Monday morning. I have not done a ton of auctions. I know we've done nationwide. We just need more time. So just really knowing your market and what can help you will be huge. All right. Francisco, we got a new one. Francisco Ruiz said to use a different approach to tax foreclosure properties. So do you reach out to homeowners that are behind on their taxes that are going to lose their house to foreclosure?
Yeah, it's interesting. Our tax sales in Kansas City are coming up in the next 2 weeks in August. So it's largely a similar situation, except it's easier to have a viable deal. So imagine these people that are going through tax foreclosure. They don't owe anything on the home except for the taxes. So if their taxes are $3, $4, $5 a year, maybe they only owe 15 grand a year or 15 grand. So if they want to sell, there's a lot more opportunity in terms of equity. But they have a timeline just like a foreclosure. So it's largely the same type of situation. And what I've found with tax foreclosure is that a lot of these houses are vacant. There's weird title situations going on. So that's when you really have to pull into your bag of tricks of finding vacant homeowners and solving hairy probate situations, and you're really going to have to work hard in those situations to earn your money because they can be challenging deals for sure.
Yeah. Another question over here by Daniel Del Bene. How would you respond to a seller who is against sub 2 because they don't want to be attached to the property at all? They don't want any risk of having the property come back to them. I actually just closed on a property like that 2 weeks ago, and the gentleman figured out he had no equity. He was going to have to pay out of pocket to sell this. He was at the beginning stages of pre-foreclosure. The longer he waited, the less money he would get. So we walked through everything, and I was like, listen, and he'd already had other people approach him about sub 2. And he's like, you know what? You're the only one that really knows what you're talking about. I understand this is my only route. And what we actually did, because he's like, I don't want my name to be on this mortgage. He said that. I said, listen, when the rates drop down below 5%, we'll refinance you out. And we don't need you on the loan anymore. But until then, we're going to purchase it this way. And we gave him, guarantees. Like we pay the servicing company that pays the mortgage. We pay them 5 days early. So when we make the payment 5 days early, because he's like, I just want to make sure you make those payments. I don't want to get the house back. What if I get the house back and it's in trash because your tenants have trashed it? I was like, that's potential, but I'm catching up your mortgage. I'm putting money in your pocket right now, and I'm fixing up the property when it needs some work. So anyways, I gave him all of these things, and there is a risk in everything, guys. Like, please understand that there's a risk in everything that you do. But I made him feel comfortable. I know what I'm talking about, and this is not my first rodeo. So he didn't have any other choices because he was going to not make any money at all. He's going to have to come out of pocket. He just wasn't in that situation. Would you say anything different, Marlon?
I would agree with you. I just want to highlight one thing that you said. He became aware that he did not have any other choices. And that's what I think a lot of people fail to walk them through the process and get the seller to naturally come to that conclusion on their own. And so we typically like to walk them through the other options as a pull away, you know, list it with the realtor, fix it up yourself, catch up the arrears yourself. And as they naturally go through the logic that, oh, wait, I can't list it with a realtor, it's going to take too long, and I only have a few days. I don't have the money to fix things up. I don't have the money. No one's going to lend me the money to go and catch up the arrears. So naturally, you both arrive to the same conclusion. And now it's an idea that you both co-created, and it's not just something that you're pitching, because ultimately when you keep pitching it, and this is what most people do when they're excited about sub 2, it feels like you're more excited about the solution than they are. And so now it's you're winning, but they need to feel as if they are winning.
That's huge. And I even told him, I was like, why don't you just turn it into a rental? He didn't want to deal with tenants. Like, you push them away and let them have every option. We're the backup option when nothing else works. Michael, would you say anything else I missed?
I agree with all of that. You got to identify why they don't want to do subject to. They can say, well, I don't want to be attached to the property, but why? Many times people are like, well, what if I want to buy a new car next year or another house and my debt to income's too high? How will that affect me? Many times we've had to file paperwork with the lender that shows, hey, we've made 12 consecutive payments. This person's really not involved. I can't remember the exact figure, but something like 80% of their debt to income on that situation can be removed from their credit. So you can explain to them situations like that would absolve them from it. Or like we were talking about earlier, maybe the amount of time you can do the sub 2 is limited. Maybe it's a balloon of 3 or 5 years. And it's like, look, hey, I just saw that the rates are going down like we were just talking about. I'm going to be able to refi you out maybe in 3 years or something. Would that make you feel better if it wasn't a 30-year relationship? It was just 3. Well, I think I could deal with that. And you could just walk them through some scenarios, provide them some assurance. And most of the time people are just freaked out that it's going to be 10 or 15 years down the road and they aren't going to be able to do anything with their credit.
Yeah, understand them. That's at the end of the day, people just want to be understood. And they want to know that they can trust that you're going to get the work done. Did you make your own, Casimo said, did you make your own purchase and sale agreement, or is there a place you recommend getting all the documents needed? I feel good about the sales process and deal structure, but feel clueless on the paperwork side. JD, was somebody when you're getting started, that's the best way to learn, ask questions. I mean, you guys just saw the HUD statement. You just talked about when we were in the car, you had a group of ladies that were like, can you mentor us?
Oh, yeah.
And all they wanted was somebody to walk them through exactly what the contracts were.
Yeah, literally spent, like, they would get on Zoom with them. They said, we just want to be able to ask you questions. And I'm like, okay, like, they twisted my arm. I really didn't want to coach any real estate at that season of my life. And as I sat down and finally agreed to coach them, I said, okay, what do you guys want me to go over? What do you want to learn from me? And they're like, well, we don't understand the paperwork. And I was like, wow. So I would spend hours on Zoom just simply reading the contracts to them and explaining what the contract said. But it took me time to learn that. So in the beginning, if you understand the sales process and you understand how to go and help a homeowner and you don't want to be bogged down with messing up the paperwork, go and find somebody, find the Caroline or find the Michael Franke, connect with them and let them handle the paperwork, because what they will end up doing is teaching it to you as you go through the process. This way we don't fumble the ball. We can get a deal done. And just like I mentioned earlier, you're splitting the pie. It's a large enough pie. And as you learn, you'll be able to go on and do that for somebody else in the future.
Yep.
Absolutely. Oscar's creeping on us. He says, is that Professor Pizza? We are at Professor Pizza. Okay. Michael just said, what liens survive in a foreclosure? Does the auctioneer tell you what liens the foreclosure have on that auction day, or do you have to do your own research?
So if you have a big auctioneer such as auction.com that does auctions throughout the country, they will give you a general title report. It's not official. It's nothing like that, but they try to make you aware of big federal liens or second position liens, things like that. But they are not responsible for it. So you've got to do your own research. I don't buy it at auction almost ever, mostly because I get blown out when I go down to the courthouse. There's different hedge funds or just different people that they operate their business in a different way than mine, and they don't need as big of a profit for each deal. But I have not done that in a long time. Have you guys bought it foreclosure sale?
I've never bought one.
No, and I'm originally from New York, so Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And the foreclosure out there, I mean, it's locked down by old money. It's guys and gals who have been really just a group of guys, not even gals in there, who have been buying at the auction there for the last 20, 30 years, and they are not friendly to new people coming in. So I typically tell a new person, like, unless you've got a connection, it's not worth the time and effort. Maybe go see it for fun, but the odds of getting a deal there, it's pretty slim.
Yeah. Nope, I never have. It was fascinating. I did go sit at an auction and look at it, but I think, wow. Yeah. Pierre Roberts said, "Thank you guys so much. You teach me so much. Just want to say we appreciate you. So thank you for saying that. That's what we're here for." Can you explain what a bare bones HUD is? It's just a HUD with the basics. So it won't have all the liens and stuff. We can get a bare bones HUD just to be like, this is what the title costs are going to be. This is how much money we think the payoff is. We pass it over. Just a generalized.
So that's my made up. That's my made up term. It's just the absolute minimum amount of information a title company can put on a HUD. It's just to give the lender certainty that, yes, I have opened up title. I intend to do what I say I'm going to do. And then that gives them more certainty to postpone a sale or do whatever you need them to do.
All right. Another one from Michael Yocolano. I have a foreclosure client who needs to go through probate, and the sale is September 3rd. The bank denied a temporary cancellation when I requested through the county attorney, and my closing attorney is silent. Help. What would you do?
So that's when you need to have another member of your power team, that probate attorney. So you're going to talk to that probate attorney and say, hey, look, I have the seller. Here's the situation with all the heirs. What needs to be done? I'd love to bring this business to you. They'll say, well, you need to do a determination of heirship, or you need to do this, whatever the thing is. The family agrees, sign a purchase agreement with them, even though that is not a binding agreement, but that gives them kind of an emotional attachment to you. And at that point, you can file equitable interest or whatever you need to do, because you're going to have to pay that probate attorney probably half up front to get them started. So if it's a $3,000 probate, you might have to pay them $1,500. That probate attorney fills out all the paperwork, gets everything done with the county, files that with the county, files that with the lender, the attorney, whoever's involved, and all of a sudden, it's a different situation. If you've got the paper filed, they're going to look at it very differently than, well, there's no purchase agreement, there's no probate filing. Why would we stop anything? There's no reason to at this point. So that's what they're looking for. And from what I've seen, probably 90% of the houses I've ever taken through probate, if I gave it to the lender in a reasonable amount of time, they've canceled. It's only those ones that are like a day or two before the sale that can get kind of hairy.
I back up what he said. Did you have anything different?
No,
well, you have a lot of time.
Michael's.
September 3rd. That's a long time.
Yeah, you have so much time. He said, unfortunately, the probate attorney and my closing attorney are the same person.
Maybe that's a little bit of a conflict of interest.
Yeah, another attorney. All right, here's another one. Peter Silkoff said, do you call the local courthouse to find out the liens on the property, county assessor maybe? Go through your title company. Your title company will pull that report.
Both. You could do both. I mean, it's kind of interesting to learn the ins and outs of title. I actually did that with my title company. It's like, I don't need to know everything about how to pull title, but show me the basics. So they showed me a handful of different sites that I could look at to pull up liens or federal stuff or whatever, just so I have a general idea when I go into an appointment. But I would rely on my title company, but it's a good idea to learn a handful of different sites in your county that have different liens from the city or federal posted, give you a general idea.
Help you out a little bit. Francisco's asked this twice, so I'll bring it up now. Mentorship program, question mark?
Yes.
All right, here's another one. May1337 said, have you ever bought or wholesaled a condemned property? Do you have to go through the county to get the sale approved? I've never done that. Have you?
Oh.
Michael?
Go ahead.
I'll
you got one?
So I bought a property that was owned by the county, and that was a lot more red tape. Honestly, I'll probably never do it again because the length of time it took to get that transaction done. We were ready to get this property closed, but waiting on the city to respond back to file off. The city had some restrictions on the deed, had to be owner occupants. We explained. I learned to do every business legal. So I never want to break any rules. And the deed said it has to be an owner occupant. We never had any intentions on owner occupying, so I didn't want to play any sorts of games. They also put a performance lien on the property, saying that I was going to do what I was supposed to do. So I had to put a $10,000 additional down payment on the property just to even begin working on it. And again, it took from the time we agreed to purchase property, we bought it from another wholesaler, till when we closed. I think it was about 4.5 months in between. And it was just simply waiting on the city to give approval and to respond to us. And the city, unfortunately, they're not paid based on performance or speed. Therefore, there was zero incentive to really get the deal across the finish line, to the closing table, so that we can even purchase and begin the work. So I'm not a huge fan, but I have purchased from a wholesaler a property that was condemned and owned by the city.
So I've got a couple of different examples. We recently had a wholesale deal. It was a fire damaged tax sale property. Okay. So we got this thing under contract. It was 6 units, fire damaged pretty badly. I got it under contract for $40,000, wholesaled it for 70. And I'm like, all right, $30,000 rip coming my way. But right before the closing, the seller had talked to the county and said, is there anything that I should be aware of with this property? And they're like, well, it currently is on our demolition list as well. And in order for you to remodel it, it's going to cost probably $60,000 to go through all these different processes and checks to make sure this property is even fit to be remodeled. So the seller's like, yeah, I'm not willing to take on that risk. And I completely understood. So be very careful. Like the title company would have allowed me to buy that property. But this guy, I'm glad he went through the city and looked into a little bit more, because he would have gotten screwed. And it was one of my better buyers, so I wouldn't have wanted that to happen to him. So be very careful with those types of properties. But generally, when I buy a condemned property, if there are code violations, anything with the city, our title company will send me a report and says, hey, the city says that there's violations because there's not numbers on the front of the house. There's rot on the side. There's a bunch of junk in front of the house. These are things that are going to have to get resolved with the city, and you might have to pay a fine before you can sell the property. So if your title company does a good job, they'll make you aware of these issues, and you can solve them either before you buy the house, or it might just be a small ticky-tack thing that you're willing to take the risk on.
All right. Let's find another one here. So, good. I'm offended. I'm offended by this question because I know you have not watched our pre-foreclosure role play. Right? By this question. You've not gone to Michael's YouTube where he spent tens of thousands of dollars on it. Go to this video on YouTube, watch it, because it covers this, and I want you to come back and message me and tell me what you learned from that role play. Because I'm not going to answer it on here. So I'm hurt. I'm offended. We do this, and you guys don't even watch our previous content.
I'll give them a crumb. Use a third-party story. It'll work.
Mm-hmm. Michael's nicer than me right now. If I'm pre-approved with a government loan, and I'm interested...
I'm not on as many Zooms as you.
I'm on a lot. And I'm interested in owning a property with an auction date on it. Is there a way I can... any way on how I can buy it? With a pre-approved government loan, can I buy a house? What should I do? Should I just go and get a hold of them and see if they'd sell it to me, and then just use my loan to purchase it before they go to auction?
Sure. Yeah, if there's time.
If you have the time.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Time would be the main factor, I would say. Like, if it's the auction's happening in 2 days, your government loan's probably not going to close fast enough. In which case, what you can do is go ahead and raise private capital, close on it with cash, and then essentially try to refinance out with that government loan. But effectively, time is going to be the big issue. And that's something that anyone that's wholesaling should understand. I always try to bring this to people's attention when they're understanding the value of a cash offer. It's the speed of which the transaction can take place. You might have a retail buyer who says, hey, Wells Fargo is going to give me a loan for $500,000 to buy the house. But Wells Fargo, when they finally go and look and do their inspection to make sure they want to lend on this property, they're going to slow things down. They might say the house is too damaged, X, Y, and Z. and that prevents the actual transaction from happening. And so the value of a cash offer is you can move quickly. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with government loans or any other conventional lending. You now have another party who has to also agree on the transaction, and you're just adding another chef in the kitchen.
Yep.
So just another thing to add to that, I love that explanation. But when you go into a situation, we're not necessarily talking about this question here, but if you have an idea of what you want to do to the property, you want to buy it cash, you want to buy it subject to, this is what you want to do, I want to make this much, and you try to force that into existence on one of these pre-foreclosure deals, sometimes it might work, but guys, you've got to divorce your desires and think about the person on the other side of the table. So just think about, I'm not saying you would do this, Michael, that asked this question, but if you had a VA loan or something and you wanted to buy it with a VA loan and you tried to force that into existence with a handful of days before a foreclosure sale and it gets foreclosed on, that's kind of on you. Or any situation where you're trying to force your thing into existence and it doesn't make sense for the seller. So keep in mind, you got to think about the other person on the other side of the table. That's going to help you win. But yeah, if you're in a situation like that, short timeline, you got to go ahead and get funds, buy that thing, refi into another loan. Or if you get them early in the process, maybe it's a couple days into notice of default and you've got a few months, it might work great in that situation.
Voice hit the nail on the head there. All right, let's get to this next one. I'm already messaging you in the side chat, EOC. I have a pre-foreclosure lead, but I'm not sure if there's a deal here. I'm newish. I just started door knocking thanks to Michael's videos. He gives us the numbers in the next one. And he goes into like what Zillow says it's worth and then what the mortgage is. So I asked him, I said, what does the seller want to do? Okay, you guys can look at the numbers all day, but you got to find out what the homeowner wants to do. I called them a seller, we should call them a homeowner. And he replied with, ideally stay. They're going to talk to the bank about a loan mod, but they're willing to walk away so they don't have foreclosure on their record. That's incredible. So then I asked him, do you have any buyers? Where is it? I don't have any buyers. It's in Stacy, Minnesota. I've never heard of that place. If that's a small town, I would be scared. I hope you're outside of a larger town, but you need to have buyers first before you go and do anything. Mm-hmm. Don't go I also had another guy message me. They're like, I have 5 motivated homeowners that have farmland outside of Illinois, in the rural area of Illinois. And I was like, oh my gosh, they have tons of acreage. I'm like, well, what's nearby? Well, nothing. If you have no buyers, like that's not a great area for you to invest in. Like you're going to stress yourself out getting into properties that you won't be able to move. So I know nothing about Minnesota. We actually, instead of going to Minnesota, we were like, who should we hang out with instead? Let's go hang out with Michael Franke. So we decided to go to Kansas City and just volunteer ourselves into his life. We had no choice about it because we wanted to hang around successful people. So, see, it's a smaller town. Sorry, brother. Unless you're going to buy that house and move into it, I wouldn't do anything. Unless you have buyers.
I have a different path for you. And this is what I've recommended to a bunch of wholesalers in Kansas City. Because a lot of people watch my videos. They want to get started, but they don't have any title company. They don't have any buyers. They don't have any funds. They don't have anything. Okay, so what I've recommended them to do is, hey, when you're out door knocking, you're out doing any of those things, you're going to see other people's marketing, right? And of course, you're going to take it off the door because you're trying to get the deal instead of them. But you're going to use that piece of marketing and say, hey, look, man, I see that you're also doing foreclosures. Love that. I've just got into it. I'm new. I'm looking for resources. If I can find a lead and I can bring it to you, can you help me underwrite it? Can you maybe help me stop the sale? I'll just take a tiny bit, or I might even do the first one for free. I just want to learn, and I want to bring you a lot of deals in the future. Someone that's experienced at this is going to salivate at that. I've bought 3 foreclosure deals in the last month from wholesalers that have said, I don't know much about this. It's my first one. I don't know what to do. They go out there, leave a sticky note. The seller calls. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And then I'll walk them through and I'll give them my contracts. I'll help them talk to the seller. I'll connect them with my title company. Maybe they'll wholesale me the deal. Maybe not. I just give them a lot of resources because they've been willing to go out there, do the work, bring an opportunity, and then all of a sudden my ears are perked up. So if you're in a small city where there's no one doing it, like Caroline said, maybe that's a little suspect. But if there's any type of population around there, there's going to be someone else doing it. that you can connect with and maybe has some more experience.
That's the best use of your time. That's some great advice. Good. I do forgive you. They said, I'm sorry, I love you. So I forgive you. Just go watch that video and then tell us what you learned.
Hey, it's cool if I say something to the EOC about that. Like, if you're in that small town and you don't have any other investors around you, something that I did in the very beginning for finding buyers was I would run a ghost ad. And so a ghost ad effectively was I would pretend I already had a deal. So I would put the details of a deal without an actual property address. And I would put it out there in my space, whether it's Facebook groups. I did Facebook groups and Craigslist because typically in those areas, you have more people who are on those places. And I would have people reach out to me asking about that deal. And I would immediately respond to them and say, hey, sorry, that deal is no longer available. But now I have someone who's interested in buying. And I would start to have that conversation and slowly build out a buyer's list for that specific area. So it wasn't a nationwide thing. It was very niche down into an area.
Lots of good advice, Marlon. That's the best way to get started. Then you can start gathering your list. You're very welcome, EOC. Guys, we're coming to the end of our time here. So, Marlon, do you have any other questions you would ask Michael before we set him free to go back and solve more problems?
Well, first off, Michael, dude, you are awesome. I've been able to listen here and there on the podcast in the past, just in between me jumping into calls and things of that nature. And you are dropping absolute value. This is the longest time I've gotten to spend on the podcast listening to you. And I'm like, okay, this dude is an excellent teacher, an excellent communicator. So shout out to you for that, because some people know how to do things, but not everyone knows how to convey the information to somebody else so that they can get it done. The question I have for you is a little outside of the pre-foreclosure scope and more about the decision-making behind your niche down into one market. How long did it take you to really define this is where you want to be and to be able to say no to I call them like the women in the red dress, the shiny objects, and how beneficial has that been to you for being able to say no?
Fortunately, I loved Kansas City from the beginning. I started off doing 1 or 2 deals a month. That's gone up to 15, 17 deals a month sometimes. And internally, I'm like, yeah, we're doing good, but I feel like we're nowhere close to our capacity. That was an internal feeling in terms of how many deals we could do in Kansas City. So I started joining masterminds, like I'm in Collective Genius right now. And I'm like, I just kind of want to test this because I see all these people that are like, well, I'm in Kansas City. Maybe I'll go to St. Louis, or maybe I'll go to Indianapolis and branch out and try to do some more deals there. So then I'm like, I'm meeting these guys in Collective Genius, and there are guys in Philadelphia and Georgia that I'm thinking of in particular that are doing 500 deals plus in one market. And I'm like, okay, hold up. I'm doing 150 in this market. You're doing 500 in one market, similar size market as mine. I'm like, okay, I have nowhere near my cap in this market. So why would I go out and put all my resources in a bunch of different places? That's going to make it harder to do deals in those places. And then I lose focus in Kansas City. Or I could put everything into one task in Kansas City and see, do I need to do 500 deals? No, I don't want to do that many. But could I do 200, 250? I could do that. So that's my personal thought process. I just don't want to be all over the place and be scattered and not have expertise in an area. And my worst fear is, I open up a shop in Oklahoma City, and then there's a foreclosure person that reaches out to me, and I don't have a power team established, and that person gets foreclosed on, and then I feel horrible. And I just don't want that situation where I don't have a team. I don't understand it. I don't 100% know the comps or have an exit strategy. So that's why I've stayed in Kansas City. People have said that I'm kind of wimpy for doing that. I think it's a show of strength. I think if you're going into a ton of different markets just because everyone else is, that means that your business isn't good enough and that you're just looking for the next shiny object or the woman in the red dress.
I absolutely love that. And I have another question for you. In the last 12 months, you're someone who's always consistently learning, consistently bettering yourself. Like you mentioned, you're putting yourself into new rooms, right? Mastermind, putting yourself around people who are further ahead than you. What's a lesson that you've learned in the last 12 months that you feel has been the most valuable lesson to you yet something that you're looking back on these past 12 months and you're like, you know what, this was an amazing lesson I learned. I wish I learned it a little sooner, but this is the lesson for this season of life.
That scaling isn't as sexy as it appears. I remember the days when I was a lone wolf and it was just me and my father would actually do all the finances and the back end stuff that I didn't want to do. But I'd go out there and get a $40,000 wholesale. Well, maybe it cost me $2,000 to get that deal. And then I'd take home 38 and split it with my partner, however. And it's like, woo, that feels good. My profitability is high. Well, then as soon as you keep adding more and more and more and more people, more office buildings, more stuff, it's like, dang, I got to do 5 $20,000 deals just to break even this month. And that can be kind of a pressure. So don't just be excited to scale. Really think about your long-term goals and think about, do you want the type of pressure that is involved with feeding 15 or 20 mouths every month? Because you got to pay those people. And that you got to deal with it if there's months that are a challenge. So our company's doing well, but sometimes it's like, maybe just be a little bit more cautious as you scale. Really hire top players, A players, but maybe you only need a team of 4 or 5, and you can live a amazing lifestyle with that.
I love that. And I have one final question because it comes into the perfect segue to it, which is, as you're mentioning, the fact that you realized scaling wasn't as sexy. You're kind of looking back and analyzing the ultimate lifestyle you want to create for yourself and making sure it's in alignment with you, Michael, right? Because you're the business owner. This is your baby. This is your business. This is your life. How important is making sure that what you're building is in alignment with you? And how regularly are you stopping to calibrate and make sure that what you're doing, the actions you are taking, are in alignment? Is it a daily process, a quarterly process? Is it every hour you got an alarm on your phone that says, Michael, are you in alignment? Like, what's that look like for you personally?
This is a whole different coaching call here. I'm being coached at the moment. You should spend an inordinate amount of time before you really start scaling on what you want. Because once you build that machine and you have all those people and you have all that stuff, it's kind of hard to unwind. So I probably don't spend as much time now thinking about all those things because I'm in the middle of the grind of building out this company, building out an education company, building out a content team, building out all these things. So I'm just in the middle of the whirlwind right now. And I have a very big goal in mind for down the road. And as long as I'm sort of going in that direction, I'll course correct as I go. But I wouldn't say that I probably spend enough time thinking about, is my daily experience what I want it to be? Because a lot of people say success is, well, how much money do I make, or how nice my house is? But my definition of success has always been, how much do I enjoy my daily experience? I don't know how you guys define it, but it's like if I wake up and I'm like, yes, I get to go into the office today and I get to make some content, YouTube videos, and I got a podcast. I can hang out with my sales team. This is sick. It eliminates any type of worries out there because I enjoy it. But if I wake up, like when I was a teacher, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I dreaded every second of driving to work and all that. And then I enjoyed Friday afternoon because I was off. But then Sunday afternoon rolled around. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go back to school tomorrow. My daily existence was just not very good. I didn't enjoy what I was doing. So you've got to optimize around your daily experience, and everyone's experience is different. Some of you just want to do a deal a month and not work very much and spend time with your family. Cool. Some people just want to do 10 or 15 deals a month and have a big team, and maybe they don't make as much, but they enjoy building that and feeding other families. Cool. And some people want to scale to the moon and build communities and do all kinds of crazy stuff and build out technology like this crazy person right here. Cool. But you've got to determine that from the very beginning that there's going to be seasons where you're not necessarily living your ideal lifestyle, but you've got to work through that season so that you can get to that season that you really enjoy. So
I love that. Michael, dude, you're awesome. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you here in the next couple of days. Seriously, thanks for answering the questions. I love your answers, and you got good energy, man.
oh, thanks.
Michael,
Appreciate it.
Hey, guys, thank Michael for even. I mean, if you guys got any value today, please let us know, because the whole purpose of this is it's free, and we want to make sure that everybody is getting value. We do this every Thursday. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to pull up our group chat that has all of our information for the meetup on here, so you guys can enter. There it is. Boom. I was like, where is the thing? So if you guys are in the Kansas City area, we will be meeting. Let's read it together, because I don't even know what it says. I'm just like, give it to me. We're focusing on one city at a time. We are meeting at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 127th West 10th Street in Kansas City. So you guys will be able to come hang out with us. We're going to have Michael up there, myself, Marlon, and some of the big hitters in Kansas City. So there's an Eventbrite for this. I'll put it on my Instagram so you guys can find it. Michael will ask you to be a collaborator so everybody can see it. But we're going to be meeting up with everybody in Kansas City on Monday night. Can't wait to see you guys. Again, we do this for free. So if you're not already, please subscribe to our YouTube channels, turn on the notifications, share this, comment below what you'd like us to cover. Really active on Instagram. That's where you guys can message us and respond. This is my Instagram handle. That's Michael's Instagram handle. Marlon didn't get one. This is the Mindset Marlon. So you guys can find him from my profile. But Michael, thank you so much for taking time away from your business. Everybody that came in here, great questions today. Jonathan, good stuff. I will get a reply back to you when I listen to your call recording. Everybody else, just go keep taking action. Pick a market where you're going to have an opportunity to move a deal, and we'd love to help you guys out. So have a great Thursday.